Rocking and rolling. Well, welcome back to Black Flag Media.
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 We're definitely
I
not
wasn't
in the middle.
drinking.
We're on the right.
Yeah. Black Flag Media Studio. Welcome back. It is Thursday, January 31st. We're on the eve of pending, possibly, tariffs from the American government.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do. We'll see what Canada does in response. But, of course, we have idiots in charge.
Of course. And, well, you got to remember, they want the tariffs.
Oh, I believe they do.
Their campaign and their future is all about the tariffs. They want the tariffs. So we're in the middle and we're going to get squashed.
Yeah, we're going to
for
get
their benefit.
squashed.
Yeah.
Like we're their little cockroaches under their feet. So I don't know. As we see what goes on, if he does actually apply them tomorrow, and and if there's any kind of concessions or anything, we'll go from there.
Well, he talked about oil, which I think Danielle Smith's work is going to get something done there.
I think so.
So I think he's going to let the oil go in.
Like he kind of has to.
Yeah.
I think, because all the refineries, like he's got to build his system before he cuts out the system he has. So we'll see. So we'll follow that up, of course, as we all will be following that and seeing what happens. And I'm for Canada. But I'm also for, having good, strong neighbors and all of that. So what we are actually here to talk about today is that last Tuesday, so a couple of days ago, Tuesday, Derek and I went as Black Flag Media Press. We covered a press release in the city of Mississauga. The mayor, do you know the mayor's name?
Yes. Carolyn.
Carolyn, somebody.
Oh my goodness. Name is
Well, you guys can look it up.
Yeah.
Or, I'll maybe edit and put her name. We'll figure that out. I can't remember her name either. Carolyn, who's the new mayor, fairly new, mayor of Mississauga, had asked for some monies from the federal government and for housing and transportation.
Yeah.
So, and there was like conditions to that as far as zero, what do you call it? Zero for climate change, zero emissions for the transportation. So that was part of the deal. Anyway, they got a hunk of money. I don't know if they said how much.
Well, the whole thing was $30 billion has been set aside over 15 years.
To miss this whole Mississauga thing?
The whole thing for Mississauga. So they got money. They got $30 million the day of that press conference, and that was to buy hydrogen buses, not electrical buses. They went with hydrogen. So that $30 million went right to hydrogen.
Okay.
Now the remaining of that money sits in that account that the Liberals created, which was the Housing Accelerator Fund. Now, like you mentioned, there's conditions to that. And the conditions for Mississauga is they build high density housing on transit lines. So those are condos primarily, your 500 square foot type of condos they build there. Now that money comes in bits and pieces, and they haven't got that $30 billion, but that's because it's over 15 years. And they didn't really elaborate on the conditions or the deal that they made, but as each project goes along, they apply for a portion of that money, and then it gets handed over. So
that makes sense. You can't just give all the money at once.
No. But, new government comes in, that accelerator fund is up, what have you.
Well, that was your question.
Yeah, and that was my question.
Yeah. So we will. So first of all, we were there. Derek filmed, and I was live streaming. So if you want to see all of it and how my view of it, anyway, go see the live stream. I think it's called Mississauga Press Release, something like that. Go have a look. You can fast forward and just have a look at what we're talking about. But you did ask the question, and we'll play that right in here. We'll put that up where you were speaking, and you asked them about this, the fact that the government is prorogued and likely they won't be there for the next election. What happens to that money?
Right.
So.
Good afternoon, Derek from Black Flag Media. Just in lieu of what's happened with the federal government being prorogued, the deficit more than what it was expected, and the previous housing minister resigning without very many new homes being built, is this plan fully funded? Or will it go into the new election that's coming?
So the prorogation doesn't impact the ability for the federal government to deliver on what Parliament has already approved, of course. The
I
government
brought up the
continues
fact that Sean Fraser was the previous housing minister, and he resigned, I guess, maybe about a month ago, maybe a little
A
less.
little more.
A little bit
yeah.
more.
Time
So he was
goes
a former
this
housing
morning,
minister.
yeah.
And then you heard when the Parliament was sitting that they were hitting him over the head all the time. There's no housing starts. There's no housing starts. And it's true. They put these conditions on it. So when the city goes and they want condos built, the developers aren't going to do it. There's no money being. There's no money for them to make, and the conditions are too hard.
Yeah.
And plus all the licensing and things like that. So that was the other part of the question, and he basically just skated over it. He just says, well, once the cities they know the conditions, and they'll get the money. So it's basically fraud, and the whole press conference was more or less, Carolyn Parrish was more or less, Carolyn Parrish, somewhat new as the mayor, big housing thing. And then the Liberals, and the amount of Liberal MPs that we'll talk about later that were there, it was just pure for, give me good publicity. That's all that was there.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll play Derek's question, and then you guys can look at that. But like I say, if you want to watch the whole live, you can do that. But we'll play that, and then you can see what we're talking about. So after Derek's question, I got up and I asked Minister Nathaniel Erskine Smith, who is now our new housing minister. Who was the first housing? Well, Sean Fraser was. Who was before him? Mark Miller?
Mark
No.
Miller.
Was he housing?
Yeah, Mark Miller. He had housing and immigration.
Okay,
and
so
then they split it.
they're moving them all around. So now Nathaniel Erskine Smith is our housing minister, who happens to be my MP. And if anyone has seen it, and for those who have not seen it, I'm not sure. I know that you can find it on Michelle Rempel Garner's X page, but the Saturday before, Nathaniel Erskine Smith was holding a rally to introduce Mark Carney to the people here in the beaches and whoever he invited to go. And so he was holding a rally here, and Melissa Landsman decided to do a press conference, I guess, just outside, like across the street, and talk about what was going on with Mark Carney and etc. Well, Nate came and interrupted her press conference and was kind of like all over her and said, well, come and have a drink. Well, it's kind of got a little bit of...
Oh, you got handsy.
Yeah, they say, he kind of got handsy. He probably had a drink, but you never know with him because he's kind of funny that way. Sorry, Nate, you kind of are. And so that got, kind of a bit of press about that and conversation going about his behavior. And so I decided in my questioning I would ask him if he'd apologize to Melissa. So we'll play that now, and you guys can watch what happened between that. Basically, he, I would say, just didn't take responsibility. The fact that he maybe was in the wrong, politically, professionally, he kind of owed her an apology, but he didn't think so. So we'll play that. And so that's...
Minister Erskine Smith, I have a question with regard to your behavior last Saturday. Have you apologized to Conservative Member of Parliament Melissa Landsman as yet?
Well, I saw Melissa post on social media that she, I had joined her shot and she welcomed me in. So if Melissa wants to reach out, I consider her a friend. In politics, we spar at times, but there is the ability to share a joke and laughter outside of that sparring. If she feels...
You did interfere with her press conference.
Interfered with the press conference that she was hosting in my riding across the street from a rally that we were hosting. Is that the press conference you're talking about?
So you have not apologized.
And by interrupting, do you mean when she called me a radical drug advocate? I laughed and said me, and then went and shook her hand and welcomed her to Beaches East York. Is that the interruption you're talking about?
I'm talking about the whole...
That would be the interruption you're talking about, though, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you have not apologized.
If she seeks an apology and I've emailed her since, She did not email me back suggesting an apology was warranted, but if she thinks an apology is warranted, I'm happy to chat with her. But I think there's a lot of conservative bad faith politicking happening on that front, and I think, look, anyone can see the full video. It was captured by national media and broadcast national media, and so I mean, this is not something that was hidden. I mean, anyone can watch the video and judge for themselves.
Because if somebody came in here and interfered with yours, I think you would ask for an apology. So, or
if I was hosting a press conference across the street from a rally that a conservative member was hosting, and all they did was come over, welcome me to their rally, and invite me for a drink, no, I think it would be ridiculous to ask for an apology.
All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
You guys figure out what you think of that.
Well, it'd be different if he was a conservative. He'd have to apologize all
Yeah,
the
for
place.
sure.
But he got no mainstream pressure.
No. So that kind of happened. And then afterwards, we all kind of milled around. And, we can name, there was like, I believe, 6 Liberal Party members of Parliament at this Mississauga press release, including 2 ministers. So there's Minister of Housing, Nathaniel Erskine-Smith, Minister of Small Business, Richie Valdez.
Richie Valdez.
Okay,
Richie,
I got it. I just call her funny
I used to
names.
say Richie Valdez. I'll talk about her a little bit.
Yeah, Richie. I call her, I don't know. I just come up with funny names because I can never remember her name. But she's Minister of Small Business. There was Miss Khalid, Ikra Khalid, and
Peter Van Senka.
And Peter Von Senka. What's her name? Souza.
Charles Souza.
Charles Souza. Who else? Charles Souza.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it?
Yeah.
Was there one more? There was that one that didn't speak. He said, "Oh, that lady was there."
Oh yes, an MP from Brampton. Name escapes me, but she actually didn't even hang around. She left right away.
Yeah, she just came. She didn't speak or anything. All the rest of them did have something to say, and so we just milled around afterwards, and we asked them questions. I got into another little battle with Minister of Housing.
You were having all the fun.
I was kind of having the fun, but you were doing business, and so you can tell your story about talking to.
Well, the first one I talked to was Khalid, and she's wacko. She's not all there.
She might be listening, Derek. Come on.
Oh, she is. So I just tried to start a conversation with them. Anything, and
she
the thing
very
was
pleasant with you.
Yeah,
She
the
was
thing
happy
was
to see you.
I always asked. I was just trying to create a conversation with them. Anything to find.
Good. How are you?
Very nice to see you.
Got to ask you a question.
What's up?
Have to ask you.
Yes.
Who are you favoring in the
Well,
Mark Carney, Krista Freeland?
Well, I am actually on the leadership vote committee.
Okay.
So I'm part of a committee that is drafting the voting rules and the debate rules.
Okay.
And so I've signed a declaration of neutrality, so I will not be endorsing anyone.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So she's on the fence because she's on the election committee.
Well, she can't say.
Yeah, 'cause
she
she's
may
on-
not be on the fence. She may very well have her person.
Yeah, she's
but
on
she
the-
explained to you that she can't actually pick somebody, certainly not publicly.
No.
Because she's on the committee.
On the committee.
Whatever the committee
And then
is.
she refused to talk about MP. Oh my God. He couldn't run anymore from Ottawa, the Indian man.
Oh, Chandra.
Chandra.
Aria.
Aria.
Yeah, she wouldn't.
So Chandra, Aria, because he said that he couldn't run.
Well, I think it's all on public record what happened, and I encourage you to get in touch
Okay.
with the Liberal Party if you have
All right.
more questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. That's why we asked, what happened to Chandra Aria? Why is he disqualified? Oh, I can't say. Because she's on the committee and she just wouldn't say. But she seemed pleased to see you.
Oh yeah,
She was very
does.
pleasant.
Yeah, they know who I am now. But, And then Charles Souza, he's the ultimate swamp monster. He's been in politics his whole life, provincial, local in Mississauga, federal. He's provincial. He's federal now. He was provincial the last term. I talked about Doug Ford with him, tried to get him going. Yeah, but he's the ultimate. You can judge just a creepy swamp monster.
Yeah.
But the third one was
But
the one.
he didn't give you an answer.
He didn't give me an answer. either.
The answer he gave me, because I spoke to him just before, he said he hasn't decided.
Who do you favor?
Krista
Freeland?
I haven't endorsed anybody
You
yet.
haven't endorsed anyone?
No. I'm going to give it.
Well, who do you think will be best for Mississauga then? How
I'm
about
going
that?
to give people an opportunity, and that's why I'm taking the time to deliberate over what people want. Right. So this is not about. For me, it's not about the fortunes of the party. It's about what people in Canada wants. Okay.
We don't know.
He didn't want anyone to know who he was
Okay.
working for.
So then, who else did you?
Well, the
speak
last
to?
one was Richie Valdez.
Oh, right.
So I
Her
went.
eyelashes.
So yeah, she's got these
Fake
eyelashes.
Sorry, Richie.
and-
Like they look goofy.
Yeah. I was kind of thrown off a little bit because she was so childlike. I think she's in her 30s.
I don't know.
I think she's in her 30s, but I was kind of literally thrown off because, like, I don't want to use a chauvinistic, but an airhead. She wasn't.
You can be an airhead male.
Okay,
and an
okay,
airhead female.
all
It's
right.
not chauvinistic.
Yeah, but it was almost like I was talking to a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And then
You had asked, so Miss Lecce Vecchi. Again, I can't remember her name already. She said one question. Who? Mark Carney or Chris? Did you say Mark Carney?
or Krista Freeland, and she said Carney rocks.
Carney all the way. She
Yeah.
was like pumped.
And then she goes, Carney rocks. I
Yeah.
thought,
One quick question for you. Freeland or Mark Carney?
Mark Carney all the way.
You're going with Mark Carney all
Yes,
the way?
I am.
Oh, really? What's different between him and Christopher?
Well, in terms of his, Mark Carney's background, I mean, you've all seen he's a world-renowned economist, of course. He's also the former Bank of Canada governor, pardon me. So between what his vision is about building for the future, I believe that he's the best leader to lead us into the next election as well.
The other thing I asked him was, this is before today, where we know about the tariffs and stuff like that. So I asked him, has anyone picked up the
Who'd
phone?
you ask that to?
All three of them.
Oh, all of them.
I said, has any one of you, as a Liberal, said, listen, let's call Donald. Donald, we need to talk,
Yeah.
right? Or go down and see them. No. Oh, no. They said, we're taking the Team Canada approach.
Right.
The Team Canada approach.
Yeah, we should talk about Team Canada approach. Because, I don't know, like the list of those people that are on the committee is ridiculous.
Yeah, they're all left-wing nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, they're literally.
Rachel Notley is on the list of U.S.-Canada trade.
Yeah.
Wow. We're sunk. Everybody, we're probably sunk. Sorry to have to inform you.
Executives for diversity and inclusion.
Right. From some car company or something.
Some
Arlene Dixon from Dragon's Den.
Dragon's Den.
Okay.
They also got the guy that was part of the Auto Parts Association too, so he should be on there. But then the rest union leaders. So I met and Jean Charest.
Oh yeah, Josh.
Jean Charest, the guy that took 10 million from Hawaii.
The guy tried to run as a conservative on the leadership race.
Yeah, Jean Charest. So and he refuses to say what he consulted Hawaii on for $10 million.
Corruption, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what. Well, I've said this for a while now. Like we really need election that's based on anti-corruption. We got to get rid of corruption at all these levels. It's destroying us.
It is.
It's destroying us as a country, as a society, as just people. Corruption is rotting us from the inside out. So yeah, I do really hope that the Trump administration starts digging that out. I mean, we will see. We can't know just yet. It's a little early, but he's doing what he said he was going to do. So
well, we have to take advantage of this if our government finally gets really, really disabled by this. I mean, time to rise might be soon. But going back to Rishi there, then I gave her like my business. You could watch it. I was talking business for my other business, which we're facing this catastrophe here. And I said, "Oh, this is the scenario." And she gets like a little smirk after it. I go, "I'm telling you,
I'm a business owner.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
being affected by this.
Yeah,
situation.
and my customers are going to sink here.
Yeah.
If it's not me, my customer." And she goes,
Yeah,
"Oh, yeah.
she has no idea.
She had no idea.
No, they're
It's crazy.
They are idiots.
Yeah, they
Sorry,
really are.
guys, but you are idiots. And Peter Fonseca saying to me, I'm asking him, so who are you endorsing, Carney or whoever? Who? He says, well, I'm just, we've got a lot of good people running for leadership, and, I'm just here to continue to deliver for Canadians. And I'm just looking at him like, delivering for Canadians?
Yeah.
You've had 9 years, and all you've done is destroy us.
Yeah.
Are they that delusional, or
They are that delusional.
I can't even believe they could be that delusional.
Yeah. So it's Friday, and what happened? And they released our gross domestic product number. So we slid back almost 1%. So we are officially in a recession.
Oh,
So
great.
we've had 3 quarters of negative growth. So we had negative growth
I think our
again,
dollar's sitting at 68 points.
68%. And then if the tariffs do go in place, so it's not like Monday you're going to have job losses. Okay, so you'll have all these job losses. It'll be incremental and slowly. But Monday, I'll be honest with you, if those tariffs go in place, there would be a lot of pressure on the dollar because the dollar will fall. Because basically, if those tariffs are in place, no company is going to come into Canada to invest to ship. Oh, we can't ship to the States because of all these tariffs, right? And then money will leave Canada. So the dollar would be worth less. So it could actually take a really steep drop.
So they
on
could
Monday.
buy Canada.
Yeah, it could take a really steep drop.
So what about Doug Ford and his nonsense, in my opinion, nonsense.
Oh, yeah, complete nonsense.
And this whole idea, and Jagmeet and all of them talking about a kind of COVID-like response, like to protect us.
Yeah,
They'll
I know.
print money and
a
give
relief,
us money.
relief fund. With what money?
Relief fund, yeah.
With what money?
Yeah.
With what money? And then Doug Ford in London yesterday, he goes, if there's job losses, I'm going to make sure there's money for retraining. Retrain them to what?
Yeah.
Because it would be systematic.
Yeah.
There'd be no other businesses to go to.
And what, these tariffs aren't going to affect the new trained business? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't matter.
Tariffs
So-
are tariffs.
Yeah, so you may have a business that only sells their business stuff in Canada, but their major client is a client that sells everything to the U.S. So if that client goes down, then this client loses all his number one client, so they go down. And it's like a domino effect. It goes boom, like that right
I
through.
don't know, this relief fund scares me.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's just like their control.
Their control, and then
printing money. We get further into
they may attach
deficit.
something to the relief fund this time. Maybe that is the
Like
thing
what?
for digital
Oh, for
money.
UBI.
Maybe that is. Maybe that is the thing that they'll use it for.
Yeah, and then of course there's this fear of quite a possibility, if not a probability, that the Liberal government and this Conservative provincial government will use this crisis that they've created by not dealing with Trump and the Americans, and say, well, we can't have an election because we're in a crisis, so we'll push it to 2026,
Right.
and we'll be stuck with them. No
Yeah.
election.
No, and then Singh has already alluded to that he'll talk to the new Liberal leader, so you know what he's going to do. Forget it. Forget about your early election. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
That's a done deal.
yeah. He's not called Salat Singh for nothing.
No,
Yeah, there's no way he's gonna
and
change his.
and Ford hasn't called Trump, and Trump will see that guy as a clown. I literally he'd hang up the phone on him in 30 seconds because he's a clown. So
Or he'd put him on speaker and then just enjoy the show.
enjoy the show.
Get your popcorn, everybody. We got idiot Ford
Yeah.
on the line.
And Ford's just using it to get a longer term in office because he's only going to fight tough. Because he doesn't want to call the election and have the election in a year and a half, because all the economic shit, all the job losses would have occurred, right? So Doug, I'll never get elected there, so I might as well call the election before it
Just
happens.
like Trudeau did in
Just like-
2021.
So just before it happens, and that's all it is. So just remember all these tariffs. Listen, our politicians, they want them. They want them. They're Trump's not our enemy.
Yeah.
They're our enemy.
It's the enemy within.
Yes,
And it's always been
100%.
the enemy
Of course.
within. Since I've jumped into this ring here, it's always been the enemy within.
Yeah.
Mandating your people, putting troops, or not really troops, but police after your own people.
Yeah.
It's always been the enemy within. So there we are. So I just decided to close this one up, I think, unless you got more.
No. Watch that news conference and just realize that that's purely spectacle.
Yeah.
Other than the hydrogen buses that they bought from Mississauga, but when they talk $30 billion, that's just pie in the sky. You know, that was
So
pure
you can
optics.
watch my live. It's down
Yeah.
there.
Oh, you're
and
watching it
Derek's gonna probably put clips up on
Your
Facebook and
live
stuff.
has what I don't have is the second interaction you had with Daniel, because you were
with
live
the
because I
Daniel,
was
yes.
talking to all of them and you were
having
going at it
still
with
having a
them.
battle with him.
Right.
Well, maybe I'll leave this for another time. I was gonna say, well, maybe I won't. So at the end of that whole thing, we are leaving, and I'm sitting in the truck with Derek, and he's going to take me to the subway for me to go home. And I said, because Nathaniel Erskine-Smith lives here in the beaches, like near where I am. So I said, well, why don't I just go and see if Nate will give me a ride home. So I jump out, I see him there, say, hey, Nate, and I, like, hey, how you doing? Can you give me a ride home after having this battle with him? And he says, he's going a different direction and everything, and yada, yada. We chat for a little bit. But the interesting thing he says, very strange. Again, Nate, if you're watching this, here's the thing. You're kind of dancing around in the parking lot saying, oh, you're just a regular guy. And you say to me, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a WEF puppet. He brought that up. I didn't.
No, we didn't even
And
mention
I said,
that.
well, that's funny because you're supporting Mark Carney, who is a WEF puppet. Answer that, Sherlock. So, so just to end this up, just to remind people that the truck convoy anniversary is coming up. Mm-hmm. It's kind of started now, really. So if you're in Ottawa celebrating that this is when you came in, or you're online celebrating this when you came into Ottawa, awesome, great. We need to keep that. We need to keep that energy going, that peaceful Canadian energy. I think it's important to keep that.
Well, like
going.
I said, the last day of it should be marked as a holiday when all things are said and done.
I'd say so. So
we
I will
gotta
be in.
maintain
I
it.
don't know when you're planning on being in, but I plan to be in. See how it goes, but I plan to be in Ottawa in around probably the 14th until the 17th, something in there, and the 14th. I'd have to look at the calendar, but whatever the Saturday is, which I think is the 16th or the 15th. Maybe the 15th. Anyway, whatever the calendar is, there. Hopefully, there'll be a bunch of people there. We'll kind of have a good party. We'll maybe have speeches and dancing. I don't know. Bring a hot tub. Do whatever you want, but bring some bouncy castles. Let's enjoy that and keep that spirit of freedom-loving Canadians that say no to tyranny. Mm-hmm. Let's keep that going. So I'll remind you again, and maybe Derek will remind you on his whatever he's doing. But from now, from Black Plague Studio, over and out.
Over and out.
Freedom. Okay. Bye, guys.